Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Fix the XJ6. We are really close to getting this together now. I think this may be the last episode, there may be two, it depends, but we are ready to put it back together. I just want to give a huge thanks to the companies on your screen now who help supply parts to this build. Honestly, thank you. Without you, I wouldn't have been able to do this. Particularly, Hell. You may have seen in the last episode, I accidentally got the wrong lines. I've now got the right lines. They cloned my lines. And now I can fit these back on the bike. However, I totally forgot about this. Thanks to Wiimoto, I have a new clutch cable, so I need to replace that first. You may not have seen this because I mentioned this in a vlog rather than one of the build videos. This is a mini update. I have now got the split link together. The way that I did that was I put a nut over each of the pins, and I got a 4-pound G-clamp from Amazon and just tightened it up over it, which seated it down perfectly. And got the split link on in the right orientation. Remember, split links, they're a bit of a controversy. Do what you believe is right. I'm happy with this on this bike, but anyway, you want to make sure it faces that way, because then it always travels being pushed on. If you put it on backwards, it only takes something to, like a stone or a bit of grass if you're going off-road or something, to ping and hit this end, and it will flick it off. So make sure they're put on properly. Then they're actually okay, in my opinion, and as it turns out, quite a few other people's opinions too. But yeah, that's now been done. The clutch cable comes down here, through here. Which one is it? That one. Zip tied on here. It's interesting. And then it goes down here. Sorry, this might be a bit dark. Doing my best. And it comes around here. Not too tricky. I'm just going to get on and change that now. Okay, first thing we need to do is loosen this off. When I did a video on this in the past, I had some people tell me that I hadn't tightened the retaining nut up enough to make sure that it, it held it in place. This and this is the same part, and this has a clicker on it. See here? That helps you adjust it and holds it in place. It doesn't have a locking nut. So the easiest thing to do is push that out of the way, and just keep winding this as far in as you can, and then come back until you can see the cable, and then get it out of there. Oh. Right, this is where you pay close attention to the routing, because you want to put it back exactly where it was. In fact, there's space, so I'm going to run it next to it. So it comes up through here, and that goes off down here, and that goes through there. So, we've got that routing right. Okay, so you just unhook it from the arm on the bike, and it seems like it just there is a radiator hose with a fitting right in the way. I am not disconnecting the radiator lines to get that out. My God. This cable's actually in alright condition. It hasn't started fraying at each end yet. If you start getting frays around here or the other end there, then it is definitely time to replace it. One is like, okay, but if you get a couple, it's time to replace it. But this just feels horrible, and I have lubed this in the past, not that long ago. It's just old, and I think the running surface inside is just messed up. So, out with the old. Right, we've got to get this back in the other way. That was double cuticle taking back whatever people pay money for. Do motorcycle mechanics. Fantastic cuticles rammed off your fingernails. Right, so there's basically a little cup that the end of the cable just slides into, and that retains the cable, and then you hook it up. Sorry, very difficult to show you. Okay, I can probably show you a little bit clearer now. Okay, so the cable comes down through here, down the side, through here, and then it sits in this little cup down here. See, that just pushes in. And that's held in place by the fact that it then goes underneath this little clip sideways into here, and then when that's pulled tight, this will get pulled in, that will get pulled in, and that's your clutch actuation. So we've now got to do the other end. Can I just say something here? Always cut zip ties flush, as in flat, because those little edges, if you don't cut them if you cut them at an angle, like, you know, so it gets a point on it, you'll rip your hands to pieces, or someone else's, the next time they're going to work on your bike. Okay, I like to have the adjuster just a little way out. But we obviously need to remove all of this slack, so we'll do that with the adjuster on the side down there. So it's like a barrel nut, and you just keep turning it. You'll see the lever pulling itself in. So I've got it now, so this is being held, but it is loose. It's not got any pressure on it really, it's just held there. But I've got the adjuster in the middle here, so I can adjust it in both directions. If you put it, you know, right up against this edge here, you'll have to open the adjuster down the bottom hugely, and you'll have no way of going back that way without taking your fairings off. This way, you can go both ways and adjust it. So I've only got it a couple of turns out there. I'll put it in one slightly more. Yeah, that's fine. Right, so then down here we just need to lock the barrel nut and the other little nut together so they don't move. Just got to nip them so they stay like that. There we go. So that's the clutch cable fitted nice and easy, and when I've got the bike riding I can give it a little adjustment and get it just in the right place. It's important that your clutch, because a lot of people don't want any flop in their lever. If you do that, you're very likely going to be dragging your clutch and you're going to burn it out or glaze it or shorten the life at a minimum. You do actually want it to be loose-ish. It's kind of a balancing act, but I've got enough adjustment there to do that. Okay, next job, brake lines. Before I put the brake lines on, I need to put the rear wheel cowl on because that has to go on before the rear brake line, so let's do that and then do the brake lines. Good plan. Another good plan would be to hit the like button and smash the subscribe button. I'm on my way to 100k. Thank you. Okay, so this is the rear wheel cowl. It's attached by 3 screws, one here, and one here. And from memory of first putting this on, this is a fiddly job. And it goes over the wheel like that, and it sits there. And you've kind of got to get behind and around stuff to bolt it in. As I say, it's going to be annoying, so I'm going to just do it. Okay, so we've got that mounted now. It's just really fiddly because the bolts are like down in here and down here. But this one I can't put in yet because the brake line actually gets connected to that one. I've checked out the old brake lines to work out what's what with the new ones. So I now know what I've got to put where. This is the main one because it's the longest. This is then the one that goes over the top of the wheel. And then we have this one here, which is the rear one because it has the 90-degree adapter on it. And Hell also supply a nice bag of new banjo bolts and crush washers, which is very handy, so I can replace all the banjo bolts and crush washers. Keeping in mind that one of them is special because it's a double, because we do the link over. Okay, so we know this goes down that way, so let's put this around here. We've got a new banjo bolt and new crush washers. On the original brake line, it's got a couple of places that you clip it down, and the top one, it's the one up here, does around this part of the brake line, which is thicker because it's a non-braided one. So this braided one is just rattling around in there, and I just noticed that these are actually, they're glued on, but they're not glued that well. I wonder if I unpeel this and I put it around here. I mean, it's not going to be the best fit, but that will stop it rubbing. And if it does move up and down, it won't wear on any surface. So I think actually that's a pretty good little trick. Okay, so banjo bolts. It is a bolt with a hole in the bottom, and it has a hole comes out the side. It means you can clamp your brake lines on tight, but you've also got a pass through for the fluid. You also have double banjo bolts like this with 2 holes. The reason we need the double banjo is because on this bike the brake line goes from the master cylinder on the handlebar down to one side, double banjo bolted, and there's another line connected there that flips over to the other side, and that's got a single on the other side, like this. Some brake setups have 2 individual lines. This has got the link over thing, which is more common on, I think, probably more sort of non-sports bikes, if you know what I mean. One thing to note though that is important is you must use crush washers with banjo bolts, and with the doubles you have to use 3 because you have to have one either side and one in between. I was having some alignment issues, and then I looked at a photograph and then was like, oh no! The main line went over the other side, and it's only a single to this side, which would be a normal one, so this is also backwards. Now that goes in there. That's better. Okay, with a little bit of jiggery and pokery and looking at old pictures, we've now got the lines in place the way they were before, and it is the best fit. And this side's done, and I've actually tightened these down now. But I noticed, if you look, that is a bit of a weird kink. I think it would be better if it was flipped the other way around. And the nice thing about the hell lines is that you can grab them with a pair of pliers, and you can spin the ends. To me, that looks like a straighter line for when the suspension comes up and down. It should be the best place, I think. So the hell braided lines are now on the front. They're easy to install. You just have to make sure you get the routing correct and know where to put the little blocks that hell provide. And then also, as I say, I had to make a little adapter because of the difference in size. But if you've got your old lines, you can possibly do this too. It seems like a good fix. It looks okay, and it kind of looks like it belongs. I had a few confusions as to which way round was the best way to run these, so I looked at some old pictures, and this way, as you can see, does look the best and it's the neatest, and that's all in place now. I've gone ahead and fitted the rear one because I'm sure you know how this is going to be done. Just one end to the other end, up, along, round, and to the master cylinder. The only difference is, again, this clip in the middle required me to steal one of the pieces of rubber off the other brake line, but as you can see, works perfectly. So the next step is bleeding the brakes. I'm sure you've seen me do this before in videos. It's a reasonably simple process, though this is slightly harder on this bike because we've got the loop over pipe, so we're going to have to sort of go backwards and forwards a bit. Remove the screws, remove the cap, remove the cover. Actually, before I move this cover, I'm going to find some sheets. Brake fluid will ruin your paint, plastics and all sorts of things, so you do not want to get it on anything. Right, first thing I'm going to do, get rid of all this old brake fluid that's in here with a little syringe. I'm sure most of you know this, but brake fluid is hygroscopic, so it will absorb water, and that will ruin its properties. So that's why you can't use brake fluid indefinitely, because it does break down. Same as you can't keep bottles of it around for years and years and years and keep using it. That's why when I buy brake fluid to do stuff on bikes, I normally buy ½ litres, but I may even next time I go to do something just chuck this out and get some new stuff. It's not expensive, but it is worth like getting new stuff if it's a couple of years old, because what's the point of doing it if you can then put something in it that's already got a problem? You got to just keep pumping, occasionally open the nipple at the bottom, just let a bit of air out, some fluid down, and you just want to keep going until you start feeling some resistance in the system, because then you can start bleeding it properly. Without any resistance, you're kind of not making any forward progress. So I've been slowly pumping and giving the handlebar a tap, and I've been getting more and more air bubbles coming out. I've opened the bleed nipples a couple of times just to try and get the fluid to come out over there. But we're now at an interesting point that I'm starting to feel pressure. And if you watch, I pump, get a little bit of pressure, and feel the pressure building, then let go, and you can see it return. And then air bubbles come out. So I'll do that again. Get a little bit of pressure, let go. Now this is where you need to be careful, because sooner or later there'll be enough force coming back that the fluid will jump and spray out of here. But this is dumping loads of air out right now, so this is good. Just want to point out, I know I've got syringes on the end of here. I'm not actually vacuum bleeding these. I'm just using these to collect the fluid off. It still works that way. I have some resistance on the line, and I've got some fluid out the other side, so I'm going to try and get the air out this side. Now, remember what you have to do is pump the brake a few times, hold it in, open up the nipple, let the fluid come out, and then close it, and then release the brake lever. Well, this has got two sides to it with the link over pipe. It's just going to take a bit of backwards and forwardsing. The number one rule though is make sure that you don't run out of fluid in your reservoir, because then you have to start all over again. We have a very nice, positive feel. Feels great. Right, there we go. We've got some fluid coming through now. And there was an air bubble in it. So what we want to do is pump, let the air come out, close it. And it will use more fluid than you think, because you've got to push the pistons back out in the calipers. Okay, now we've got some real resistance going on. But also a lot of air. Give the lines a tap. Helps get the air bubbles out. So there we go. Yeah, that's jumping a lot because this is loose, so that can be our next job. I'm just getting these close. I'm not doing the final adjustment to the chain. I'll do that when it's on the ground and I can sit on it and properly test it. But for now, I want to be able to get it close so I can do everything up and get the front sprocket nut done up to its right tension. My preferred technique is to measure the amount of thread protruding and matching that. Give the wheel a shunt to make sure it's back where it needs to be. I don't advise you do this, putting a breaker bar through the wheels to try and get things to hold in place. I'm also going to use the rear brake. Yep. Okay, so now we've got that torqued up. There is a little dent in the counter shaft where you're supposed to knock this washer down into. Here. So all you have to do is get it lined up. There we go, that's now in place. So now that's done, we can replace the covers and all the things over that side, and we can put the fairings back on. We are so nearly there. I think I'm going to have a tidy up first though, and maybe a spot of lunch. Catch you in a minute. Okay, it's time to get this bike done. I've already put on the lower trim piece that covers the front sprocket because it's so dark down there you can't really see, and it's 3 bolts. I'm now just going to go ahead, stick some music on, and try and get this fairing back on as quickly as I can within reason. I do need to make a little screw mount in here to put the automatic engine braking brake-like sensor thing to come on, but I can do that later on. But for now, the XJ6 is done. Oh. Have a quick check of everything. Ah, yes, of course. Headlights work much better when you plug them in. And there is the XJ6 done. Well, not technically. As I say, Subaru mount I need to make in the back, just to stick that sensor in place. I think that would be a good way of solving that problem. The R&G shock cover, I need to get some big zip ties to put that back on. I also need to put the number plate back on. And then get it MOT'd, wax some tacks on it, and we can go for a ride. But man, she looks good. She looks really good. I'm really pleased. This is the best I can show you now, but I will do a video obviously in the future, like a reveal. Maybe I'll work out roughly how much this is all cost. And yeah, we'll go for a ride. Because by that point, we'll be free. We'll be free. Remember, the reason why this was done was not to make it look nicer. It in fact looks pretty much the same, apart from doing those black plastics and cleaning everything up has really made this look a lot newer. The main thing was the fact that, like, the tyres were not good, we knew that. The brake pads and the brakes weren't feeling great. There was a few things about it that just felt off when riding it, and now it should be perfect. Really looking forward to it. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, subscribe if you are new here. If you haven't seen the whole series, watch the whole series. There's also the series doing the XJ6. I mean the DRZ, I mean the bane of my life. Because that's coming back apart, because I've got to do work to it. I'm probably not doing videos on that, or maybe not a proper series. I may do a video. But yeah, I've got to rechange fork seals and do some rear suspension work. Woo. That belongs on the other side. Okay, there is a couple of things that I need to double check, and I also need to do what I call an idiot check, which is going over all the important nuts, bolts and screws and making sure that they're all torqued up to the right settings. I've already been doing that along the way every now and then, and so it's what I call an idiot check, because sometimes you can be an idiot. Right, well until the next video, I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye. Damn, that's a good feeling.